early 2000s was a very interesting time for not just me, but for a lot of people, especially in terms of video games. When I was growing up, I only really had access to single player games. Games on my Game Boy Color, games on my GameCube, eventually on my Wii. These sort of Nintendo first party games really established my connection with video games. However, as I've grown up, and really I feel like as the video game industry has grown up, we see more and more examples of multiplayer games, online games. This large category really outshines single player experiences, and whether you like one more than the other doesn't really matter. I think it's important to highlight this distinction. For me, in around 2008, I got my first laptop. It was one of those really thick Dell laptops that when you turned it on, it sounded like you had walked onto an airplane tarmac.
Look at my keyboard. It is old as fuck.
It was extremely loud. It would burn my lap from overheating. I'm really dating myself here because as I was growing up, laptops still weren't really that accessible. They were still more of a luxury rather than a necessity like they are today.
So, this is what we're up to today, and I'm really glad you liked everything. But there is one more thing.
And with that, the trailer that you saw at the start of this video.
Ever wondered what it would be like to live life as a Toon? Well, here's your chance.
Was one of the first to really grasp my attention. Man, ToonTown was an experience. If you don't know ToonTown, I want to say it released in 2006. It was Disney's kind of jump into video games. They had dabbled in it beforehand, but this was their online adventure that you could have with your friends. Because when I was growing up, one of the bigger games was StarCraft and World of Warcraft. So a lot of these bigger companies and these bigger publishers at the time wanted to jump into this world because they saw that World of Warcraft was making its creating team so much money that they felt like they should dabble in it. That's why we eventually got games like Club Penguin being purchased by Disney, why we got games like Wizard 101, and eventually, in my opinion, why Minecraft even adapted a multiplayer feature. I think that really this era of games is not only super nostalgic to me and holds a really special place in my heart, but can really be seen as one of the driving forces of the gaming industry as a whole, because so many people established their connection with video games at this time. Like I said, for me, I was always a single player kid. I was the kid who would play on his DS at a sleepover. I would play Smash Bros on the Wii with friends, or Smash Bros Brawl. But it was just that end of the experience for me. It was never really online games until ToonTown. So see, I even got my dates wrong. ToonTown initially released in 2003. This game is a year younger than me. That is crazy to me. I thought it was 2006, but this game was really, really successful. I think it was a free-to-play game. Or was it free to play? It was, I don't really know how to word it, because a lot of games at this time, they had like a free to play trial almost, where you could play a decent chunk of the start of the game and then you would hit a paywall and you would either have to pay up front or pay monthly. I want to say ToonTown was a monthly payment. I'm not too sure. It's kind of hard to see, but yeah, it was a massive multiplayer RPG and it was really fun. It was a cool way for Disney, in my opinion, to really establish themselves in this MMO RPG kind of system that we had. I miss it a lot. Honestly, looking at these pictures is making me really miss it. This game ran for pretty much 10 years, which is a pretty solid runtime, especially nowadays. But really for the time, I think most people actually saw it as kind of a failure, because you had all these huge games that had started in the early 2000s still pushing on through in the early 2010s. I mean, look, World of Warcraft is still around to this day and still has a dedicated fan base. And honestly, even though ToonTown was really more pushed towards kids, and in my opinion, that was kind of the downfall of it, I really think that if they had continued support for the game, continued to update it, make the graphics look better as the time went on, added more free-to-play stuff, I think this game could still be around today. I mean, the combat was so much fun. This turn-based system that they had established was honestly one of my favorite aspects of the game. Even going back and playing ToonTown Rewritten, which is a fan version of ToonTown, and it's kind of a fan project to have people like me still experience nostalgia, the combat really sticks out to me. I mean, you had to fight these cogs that were the main antagonists of the game. Basically, they were like corporate robots, and they wanted to take over ToonTown. And there was 4 different types of them. You had like the brown clads, the blue clads, the green clads, and then the maroon clads. They all got increasingly harder as the game went on, and if you didn't play it with friends, it was actually not easy to beat. And that was something else that I really liked about the combat system, is that yes, it was very much of the time, where it was very turn-based and it had a certain structure, but you had like a health meter and you could choose different abilities or attacks you wanted to use, and then your friends could either join the battle or you could all start it together, and it really established a lot of fun interactivity between different players. And you didn't necessarily have to do it with friends either. You could have done it with random people online. That's what I did for most of the time, and I mean, I got pretty far into the game. I played the game a lot. The weapons were really cool. The pie throwing is like one of the most iconic things, I think, for me, just in general.
Hands, courage, create.
It's so iconic that every time I see it, my heart kind of like jumps a little bit. Just really, when you sit here and look at the game, it doesn't even look that bad in like standards for an online game today. I actually would still play this game if it was still online. They also had a lot for you to do. The playgrounds were kind of the only areas where you didn't have these cog enemies running around at all times. So you could really regenerate your points, receive different tasks to do. You could purchase different gags and little mini game, like mini game accessories that you could bring into different activities. This was kind of like the main hub, if you will, for the game, but they had so much. You could fish, you could race, there was golfing, there was like one of these little areas in each neighborhood of the town, so it was kind of like again, it was a safe spot for you to end up in. And this was really smart from Disney, in my opinion, because this allowed them to really push their IP through this, because obviously, yes, a lot of the characters in like the trailers for the game look like Goofy, but each playground kind of had one of their own classic characters, like Mickey or Donald or Minnie, stuff like that. They were kind of spread out through these playgrounds, and this is where you would have like extra activities to do, and I think that's really smart. And then obviously with a game like this, everyone had like their own estate, I believe is what they called it in ToonTown. It was basically like it would have your own house or your own like multiple houses, and you can totally customize where your toon lived, what your toon looked like, the wardrobe, the different accessories, all of this stuff to really make the game feel unique and make the game feel like an MMORPG, which again, looking back on, I think they really hit the nail on the head for the most part. There was like a chat restriction. I remember it specifically where you could only have like, I want to say you could only have like pre-approved phrases that Disney would set for the players. And so you would have like true friend or secret friend and all these other things. And then I think that there was features that were unlocked once you turned 13 and had like parental consent, where they had to like confirm your parents' email, which was a huge thing back in the day. But I really think that they tried their best to monitor who was playing this game and why, which makes sense because again, it was aimed for all ages, but really they knew and we knew that this was going to be a kids game. And then you could also have like parties, which was super cool. I actually like distinctly remember one of my friends when we were in elementary school. We were all at his house for his birthday party, and in ToonTown we threw like a party because it was plannable and customizable, and you could do all these different like activities with customization, with fireworks, mini games, trampolines. Like it was super fun, and we ended up getting way more like people who were in the server just to come and do it. And I think that's really, it was a really fun like side activity. You could really sink a lot of hours into this game, which I definitely did. Now this game was shut down in 2013 for probably a multitude of reasons. For me, from just like off the top of my head without looking at anything, I kind of attribute Disney purchasing Club Penguin as a reason for this game shutting down, because of the monetary costs that they not only suffered from purchasing Club Penguin, but just from running a game over time. Really felt like it just kind of like was very abrupt, kind of like the Club Penguin closure. Disney does not do a very good job of planning the closure of their games. So the servers were shut down in September of 2013, and they kind of just opened the game up for free. Like, they gave everyone a subscription just so you could enjoy the game while it was nearing its end phase, which I think is a great thing to do. Now, when you try to go to the ToonTown website, it just brings you to Disney's main website. It's again, a lot of people were upset at this, and myself included. I remember, like, I was just kind of scrolling through Vine, I think, at the time, and I saw a Vine talking about ToonTown closing, and I hadn't played it in like a year or two, and I remember just getting like that gut feeling of like, no way, because this was such a huge part of my childhood that, yeah, I can play a ToonTown rewritten, and I can do all these different things to try to get back that feeling, but there's just, it's not the same. You know, it's not the same as going on and seeing your original ToonTown account that I had spent probably a lot of my birthday savings on, definitely a lot of my Christmas savings on, over the 10-year period of from when I was 6 years old to when I was like almost 16. Now, ToonTown was actually so popular that Disney actually made an event called ToonFest. I remember the commercials for this too. I want to say it was like 2006, 2007, 2008, in that range. And I almost went to one because it was near my childhood home in California. It was basically just at Disney World, I want to say. One of them was, and I think one of them was at Disneyland. I think these were basically just like huge events that were just, it was kind of like just a E3 but for ToonTown. Yeah, even just looking at the Wikipedia page, this game won a lot of different awards. It won in 2003, it won MMORPG of the Year, Family Game of the Year, a Silver Honor Award, a Web Award for Outstanding Website. It won two Webbies in 2003, and then it also won a massive multiplayer / persistent world Game of the Year, or it was nominated for that one but didn't win. And then it looked like all the way really until 2009 it was winning awards, and honestly that's probably when the player count started to decline. Again, as I got older, I didn't play the game as much, especially once I got into games like Call of Duty and Minecraft, and you know, these games that were just kind of for my age and were blowing up while I was growing up. I think that it was a sad thing to think about, that I'm kind of the reason ToonTown shut down. People like me, people who spent a lot of money at once on the game and then slowly stopped playing it. But that's just kind of how life is and how these MMORPGs go. Now, like, the lesson that we can all take from ToonTown is that real fans of games will never let them go quietly. Like I said, there is still ToonTown rewritten. I'm like 99% sure it is still going. Like it is still a big event. And last year was actually the 10-year anniversary of ToonTown's closure, and I wish I would have made a video then, just because I know that we now also have ToonTown Corporate Clash, which is like another ToonTown game, but they still have players. People are still playing these games. People miss these games. I really wish that Disney would at least acknowledge it, but they won't, and they probably never will. Anyways, I just thought this would be a fun, like, go down memory lane video, very relaxed, just because I miss this game. I miss Wizards 101, which I might do a video on too. I'm definitely going to do a video on Club Penguin because I got a lot to say about that. But I don't know. I thought this was a cool little thing. Anyways, I think I'm going to go play some ToonTown. Honestly, I need to go get footage for this video, so I'm definitely going to go play some. But, I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, make sure to like and comment if you played ToonTown, or if you've watched other videos on ToonTown, or if you want to play ToonTown rewritten, go play it. I mean, it's still around. Disney hasn't shut it down, probably because the people aren't making money. But anyways, this has been Nate, aka Whikked, and I'll see you guys later.